Welcome to another episode of Middle Ground with JLE, L.L.C, where we treat you like family. We in season 10 with another great guest. That's the theme song, Detroit Love, off my first album, the JLE Experience. Forgot to say that. Also on the music, so Facebook don't delete nothing. There we go. Now we get to this amazing guest we have for you today. We have beauty global brand builder, visual stylist and strategist, build brand confidence through visual visibility, the digital bosses brand strategy consultant, Claire Chen. Welcome to the show.
Hello, happy Friday. How are you, first of
I'm
all,
great.
Jeffrey?
I'm all right.
Well,
Another great day, another
good,
episode.
good. Well, I want to first to say thank you so much for having me and taking your busy schedule to interview and share my story. And very thrilled to be here today.
Awesome. I appreciate you for sharing. Okay. First question. What led you to this path?
Well, I mean, I have to say that it's a long story short.
Thanks. So.
Um, I'll give you a little bit accents and before I actually share my stories, just kind of let your audience to know a little bit about me and who I am, and
Yeah.
then I like that you're just like going straight to the questions. So hello everyone, and whatever you're calling from, good afternoon, good evenings, and I am Claire. I'm based in Toronto, and I'm a beauty global brand builder, a brand strategist, and visual stylist, and also the founder of the Digital Bosses. So I actually came from the background of fashion and beauty over the past 16 years, and it has always been my biggest passions. And I have done a lot of different things, you name it, starting from my career as a makeup artist, as a fashion stylist, all the way to visual merchandiser and buyers. And I spent a period of time actually living in Europe in my early 20s. And I have always been very fascinated, with just anything like uh, beauty and fashion, anything that is coming to a very creative side. And I always knew that, I wanted to have more. And I really like that, I'm from Vancouver, and then obviously now I'm based in Toronto, but in
Okay.
my early 20s, and I realized that I want to really pursue my dream. So I moved to London, UK at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
I spent a period of time living there and decided, okay, I want to, just continue to pursuing my academics. So very shortly, I moved to Milan, Italy. That's where I did my master degrees. So I always feel that I have to keep, especially to really keep up, and then especially the industry that I'm in has always been very competitive. And of course, if you're looking at right now, like I honestly have never thought to actually be my business. And I always tell people when people ask me, oh, like I always felt the world of entrepreneurship was, especially the last several years, you hear a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
talk about it. And the last several years have been a lot of changes for me. And then if I look at 10 years ago and then it's like right now, I probably would never thought that I actually get, building my entrepreneurship journey, be on it and building my own business, etc. Because my whole goal was always trying to ladder up in the corporate, and I have worked very hard. I started my career working in the retail cosmetics, and then
Mm-hmm.
slowly move myself way up. And my whole goal was really just to ladder up in the corporate, eventually, work as a art director, like a creative director or whatsoever. So that was has always been my path, that and something I was aiming for. But the long story short, to give you the essence, what had linked me the paths was, I would say, fast forward in 2019 at the time. Of course, I was living in Montreal, and also due to the fact because my husband, he has a very good careers in the sport tennis industry, and it's just always been like traveling, moving around. And I remember honestly looking back right now, it's moving and relocating has always been probably part of it, has always been a second
Mm-hmm.
natural, and obviously at the time also when I went back to Vancouver from Euro, I restarted everything again. And then of course at the time in my early 30s, he had another job transfer, so we moved to Montreal. I thought, okay, perfect. So I restarted everything over again. And then I thought, hey, this is it, no more moving, I'm gonna. And then so I
Mm-hmm.
started to work for several Canadian companies, and I thought, okay, this is it. And of course, 2019, that probably was my breakdown moment,
Uh-oh.
because obviously due to the fact that I was let go for one of a fashion a job a Canadian as a
Oh, no.
Canadian's fashion company that I was an assistant buyer, and I got let go because of the structures. And then, but realistic speaking, I didn't really have the time to kind of look into like what's happening, And then, but I just thought, okay, my head was started to shifting because I feel everything that I've been putting toward my career. And just like most people, if you are so passionate about something, we
Mm-hmm.
all work very hard, right? We all want to achieve something, to really look at the people and to kind of create your own successful achievement, etc. So when that happens, obviously I was shocked, and I just realized, okay, my dream and what I have always been trying to put my effort, and it's just somehow it didn't really align. And of course, I didn't really have the time to really think about, okay, hey, I want to start to walk the path as an entrepreneur, because
Okay.
realistic speaking, I have built to pay. So I
Mm-hmm.
can't really think the fact that I'm just gonna, okay, this is it. The opportunity it's has come, even though you have a minute of thinking about, I want to build something, but realistic speaking, I know that I have need to be practical. So I was
Mm-hmm.
looking for another job, and very shortly after I found another job. And then 2019 at the time, because also my husband, he was traveling a lot, like literally he was always away for tournaments, probably 6 months out of the whole
Mm-hmm.
entire year. And so I spent a lot of time. I found a new job. Work has been probably my only thing that I would devote to, because you know how it is when you start another new job. You need to begin everything over again. Even though it wasn't the first time for me to restart, even it has happened for me many times in my career that left, start, left, and you start again. And so when I
Mm-hmm.
started a new job for a global footwear company, there was also lots of things I have to learn. And then I probably literally work like 10, at least average like 10 to 12 hours a day. And that was very normal for me. I just feel like in order for me to be pleased and to
Mm-hmm.
get seen, I need to really put extra effort. And of course, I didn't know the fact that I was also going through a lot of anxiety moments,
Okay.
and I think that was a moment. I wouldn't even say the true calling, but it was more like I was started to feel unsatisfied, and on top, I
Mm-hmm.
was alone a lot of time. I started to isolate myself. I didn't feel the work I was doing was fulfilling, but I just kept going. I just kept going.
Okay.
I just felt this is normal, and not so much of the fact at the time as now. I know so much more knowledge when it comes to mental health, mental
Mm-hmm.
breakdown. I was also very naive because the environment I was in has always been very competitive, and working with my colleagues, and especially in the fashion corporate environments, everyone always seemed so good, everyone was always happy. So no one really talked about
Some issues.
internal, what is the issue.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew I was struggling. I started to feel I was losing the confidence. I didn't feel the work I was doing was really giving me the satisfactions, and I really didn't have anyone to talk to. So I recalled at the time that I would just like always go to the office having two laptops openings, and all I do is just like a robot. And on top of that, my husband was always away a lot of time. So I just felt that that's the only thing I could do. And that thing just started to accumulate over and over and over. And it really to the point that again, when he came back from a tennis tournament, and the job wanted to him to transfer again. So my
Mm-hmm.
whole time, that moment, I recalled, I was like, oh my God, this is it. I mean, again, I just could not deal with the fact that every several years, every 4 years, 3 years and a half,
Mm-hmm.
there's always a moving involved. And I just started to feel a little bit lost, but of course, that is just what it is, right? So I knew there was something that I didn't really want to face it, but the fact is just it is what it is. So of course, everything just kind of fell apart because like I just literally started a new job not long ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was really working very hard, and then now you're telling me that we're relocating again, and etc. So for me, one part I feel it was very unfair, but the fact is just I was kind of like, why this always happened to me? Because every time when I linked to a new job, I started to get comfortable. We also bought
Mm-hmm.
a new home, and then something happened, and then I just feel like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So, I after that when I started to so I left the job, so we relocated to Montreal, and then I mean, sorry, so from Montreal, and now I'm based in Toronto. So again, that was just like the end of 2019, just a little bit before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Then of course I started to take some time just to kind of realign, and I was also very lost
Yeah.
because I have to restart again, thinking where is next. If I go back and find another job, I have to go through it again. And I was at, like 37, 38. Every time going for interview, people always ask me, oh, I love your academics, I love your resume, but you moved a lot, like, and I just always get questions. And it's just that I wasn't able to come accumulate my work experience. It wasn't because I wasn't good, it wasn't because I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
skillful, but then you started to really question yourself, like, what's wrong with me at one
Yeah.
point.
Self
And
doubt kicks in.
exactly. And I started to feel very insecure, which I also didn't know. I didn't feel like what was really next to me, but I took time. I was also taking time to heal myself because that's when I realized I was going through some hard time with anxiety, which I knew that 2019 I was going through a lot of anxiety issue, which I didn't know. And I also had the mental breakdown. I have all those symptoms that which I was not aware. So it really took me a lot of time, like in 2020, and kind of just to kind of see like where this is going to take me. And I started to share content online. So of course, during
Okay.
COVID, people do. And I started to ship online. It was just a way for me to express my creativity. And of course, that wasn't, and obviously, when you first shipped online, you look at all these misconception, especially during COVID. Everyone was like, do this and that. And then you thought, oh, hey, being an entrepreneur sounds really cool. It sounds like if you do this, you're going to get rich like really fast putting content. But
Uh-huh.
the fact was like, I really went really deep about who I wanted to be. At the time, I was also still trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that I wanted to do something with a difference when I started to build my image consulting first. I knew that I wanted to really support women in business and giving them the platform to invite entrepreneurs, a way for them to express who they are, their
Mm-hmm.
business. Because I feel I wasn't getting that during my career, especially moving so much. So that's kind of how it started to shift me of how the online world have
Okay.
started it in the so it's been a little bit up and down, so just kind of give you a little bit of the essence of how everything has started this path.
That's that's why I always just go right into the question because you might give all that away before I ask. So just relate to the path and do what you do.
Yes. Yes, so it's just been very interesting journey, of course. Just like we all have a different experience of
Mhm.
life and what we face. Yeah.
Now, what is the digital bosses?
So the Digital Bosses is a branding agency. So again, it's a long story because it's not something that just actually came. It was also the last several years. I was really going deep about what I really wanted to do. And
Hmm.
then so there was a lot of transition, a lot of changes as well, just by trying to find the right direction and clarity. And I think at the beginning, of course, I learned a lot, don't get me wrong. And I if I look back, then sometimes, you know how human being, we look back and kind of think, oh, why did I not figure things out so much
Yeah, we do that.
easier? Why didn't we trying to, why it took us so much time to find all those pieces and clarity? So honestly, a period of time, I think when I was also shifting online, sharing content, and I kind of still
Mhm.
feel like there was pieces are missing, because I was doing image consulting, which is something I do love, working with people, but I feel there was still part of me was missing, that I really want to combine all my skill set and ability of working for brands. And I have always worked for lots of prestige brands,
Okay.
from startup, building a brand, from development, and then getting things into the retail and marketing, etc. So I always like to really get the, nitty gritty, to look at everything
Okay.
in the
Awesome.
very details. And then I felt that was kind of missing, and I wanted to really blend both world of how can I work with like personal branding and also branding, also in product based and service based, to really put it both together. And
Good
that's
idea.
kind of how I started to put it all, like this is kind of how me and my business partner Joseph, now that we have do lots of test run, of course. And that's when I started to feel like, okay, I need to go back to my deepest root, something I'm so passionate about, and which is now the Digital Bosses is a creative branding agency, which we help female founders, small business owners who are in the space of like beauty, skincare, and wellness, and so they can be in the stage of like. Several years they're ready to want to scale, or maybe they're in the startup, so really help them for their 360 branding foundation, and look at the
Nice.
strategy, design, visual, and really make an impact. And while I'm really focusing on celebrating inclusivity
Mhm.
and women leadership and diversities, so that is kind of like, give you just a little bit of the background stories. Yeah.
No problem at all. What does a brand strategy consultant duties entail?
What does a branding consultant do? Is that what you're asking?
Hmm.
Yeah. So I would say, first of all, there are so many branding consultant strategies out there, right? And I always say that when you are looking for your brand, just like most people say, of course, it's not just about a beautiful logo. It's not just about something really fancy about your website. And especially these days, people really want to tap into who you are, right? Uh, Before they actually work with you. Maybe just the way how your personality shines, and then,
Hmm.
so just like the same thing, you wouldn't know me if I don't share about my story. What is the accents of my story, why I'm so passionate about what I do? So I think a branding aspect has changed and has been shifting, and the whole purpose of a brand consultant and strategist is really helping small business owners and founders to
Okay.
really understand who are you trying to make an impact, and what influence you're trying to do in the world. That's how I see it. Everyone is a bit different, but the whole purpose for me is because I really want to thrive and help other female founders in the business, especially in beauties, because I feel there's so much work that we can do together. And I always think about as a partnerships, right? There's something that you won't be able to do it on your own, but having myself and my team support,
Hmm.
we're really getting into that the deepest ground. And sometimes a lot of brands that they have made the mistakes is because the first ground's foundation is not established. And
Oh,
that's why people just think, okay, if I do this because I look at what's out there first, and the competition is very fierce. But you have to really do what really makes sense for you. I think for every single brand, if you want to outshine and stand out, first you have to do the things that you're so afraid to ask yourself. What does your brand stand for? And what does it mean for you? And what is a long-term impact that you want to really create for people's life? And then from there, it's easier to create a brand that really resonate, because at the end of the day, you don't want to please everybody. Not everyone going to buy your product, not everyone going to buy your service, not everyone going to like me, and that's okay. And
that's true.
you don't actually have to go please everybody's. And I think the DNA is just like how you really position yourself to make yourself very different. And that's how we really jump in to help you to define your brand and etc. Yeah,
That's
I
pretty
hope that
awesome.
makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure the listeners it makes sense to them. Now, how did your college degrees prepare you for the beauty and fashion industry?
How does my degree has helped me to get me where? Well, okay, so first I this is a very good question, because I have to say that a lot of times, this is just to be very honest, sometimes I think that ex- you have the degree, which is great, certification is great, but a lot of things that school don't taught you, right? So I've been very transparent in my lives and people I've connect with. I always say that lots of things, for example, business. I don't have a business degree, and I'm learning a lot from business aspects. And a lot of things, sometimes you go to schools, they don't teach you like the practical, realistic things you're going to face in life. You have to, so I have to say that yes, from the creative part, experience is something I have gained traveling around the world. I live
Hmm.
in different places. I have worked with different culture diversities, and then I'm always very detail oriented about observing people's. Those are the experience that is very practical, that are the things that people or school don't teach you. And I think this is very important, because I have to say I'm still very new in the entrepreneur world. I'm
Hmm.
probably looking up to you, Jeffrey, that because you are probably been in business much, much more longer than me. But I will have to say that
Yeah.
I'm always learning, and then I think the fact is that you just have to really be open-minded, and be very curious. I think having the academic is great, having the certification is great. Those are the things that really help you to outshine other people. But the fact is that you still have to have a very humble heart to continue to learn. That is something I've learned throughout the last several years, especially ever since when I started to shift myself online. I meet different people, how you can really expand your knowledge, and how to let the ego, put in away, because sometimes I
Yeah,
feel
you got
like
to.
the ego can get to you, and I admit I was like that too, because when I used to work in corporate, and the people I used to hang out with, they're they're not the same as when you have a different entrepreneurship mind spirits. And so I think it's really important of, if you want
Mhm.
to continue to grow, first the personal development, having low certificates are great, but again, there's a lot of things internal that you have to continue to fool yourself. Yeah, that's my take on this one. Yeah.
Okay. Now, how long have you been in business?
Well, I have to say, I started during COVID, like a little bit after COVID, shifting. So I'll say about like 2.5 now. But of course, it's always a lot of things that you're learning,
Mhm.
transitioning,
We about the
and
same.
I'm still learning. I'm saying,
Yeah, me
like,
too.
compared to a lot of people who are much, much more ahead of me, but I've learned the fact that to really stop comparing myself and
Oh,
looking where
definitely. Just do
I am
you.
right now. Yeah, and be really present, because there was just also a period of time. I mean, I have always been doing that too, but I have stopped now, because now I'm in my 40s. I really learned to put my feet on the ground, because often we're just always living in the world of comparing and looking at others people, and especially I've been in this beauty and fashions. This is the most competitive environment, that
Mhm.
it's so easy to look up others, looking at people who are so much better, etc. And I've really learned to really look into myself. What is something that I am good enough, and I can just walk on my own path, because at the end of the day, I've learned people gonna be much better than you, but it's okay. You don't always have to be the first number ones, but you
No.
just have to really enjoy your own journeys and where you're heading to, because we're all different, we're all unique, we all come from different experience in
Mhm.
life. But for me, it's just important to really keep yourself on the ground and building day by day, and really just learn to not looking at others. Sometimes being focused is very important, and then stop that comparison game. So that is something I've learned, and then I'm much, much better.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I want to tell you right now, the fact that you took a chance, and kept going, you're awesome.
Thank
Hell,
you. Thank
anybody
you.
else, what they got to say. Keep
And
doing
thank you
you.
so much, Gina, for turning in. Thank you.
Oh yeah, she said that jacket out cold. Yeah, so you doing your thing. You doing your thing. Now, is there a difference in the beauty and fashion industry?
I would say they are similarity, but they are very different. But it's really combining like both. They're, it's kind of like they are joined together, but again they're very different. I would say that, and especially I think the world we're shifting these days, it's better, it's different than how we used to see when it comes to beauty and fashions.
Mm-hmm.
If you follow what's happening around the world, definitely a lots of like independent brands these days, even for small business owners, founders. We're really diving into this whole thing when it comes to sustainability, mental health, the
Mm-hmm.
wellness, and really linking to the beauty aspects. And then same thing with fashions. It's about how we actually embrace the humanity side. And a lot of things is just not sometimes what you see on social. And I think it's just really important of how can we really blending people together, because fashion is just a piece of clothing, but the fact is like who's wearing it, who's the
True.
representation, what is the gender market. And I think these are the things that are very important when we're looking to beauty and fashions. And a lot of time people might just think, oh, beauty and fashion, my god, that sounds superficial. But it's not just about being superficial, but there's lots much more deeper if you're really bringing the aspect of like wellness. How can we bring in
Mm-hmm.
more gender equalities, how can we bring in more inclusivity and confidence for women who are struggling with self-esteem and lots of things. So I think it's not just about it's not just that, okay, pretty clothing, fancy makeup on, not anymore, because at the end of the day we're human. So we can, if we can actually share the embracing part of humanity and human side, I think that's
Mm-hmm.
what really gonna make everyone, like every women's are very strong. So I think this is just still something that we need to continue to make awareness for the
Mm-hmm.
people. And the end of the day, that everyone is unique. We are our own brand, but it's just how are you really tapping into your own identity? Yeah. So I think that the whole purpose of beauty and fashion is about how are you defining your own uniqueness and your own branding aspects.
Awesome. Now, my teammate asked, "Do you do image consulting?"
I do. I do. Yes.
Awesome. So
Thank you so much, Jeanette.
you might want to reach out to you. Now, this is the time where promote, market the guests. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. So basically, I am at the stage of I would love to connect and collaborate. I also have podcast. It's called the Bosses Podcast, and I co-host with my other founder as well, Joseph Robelli. So we do a podcast show like bi-weekly, and we really talked about entrepreneurship, mindsets, and then content strategy, branding aspects. And the last several, especially this year, I also been bringing a lot of female founder just to talk about, such a the inclusivity parts and all the good things. So I would definitely would love people to go check it out and give us some feedback and insights. We recently just dropped one on Monday, and we talked about, okay, what are some of the biggest mistakes when people, entrepreneurs, are trying to find a new big client. So check it out, and we will be having another podcast that is coming next week too. And then, so of course, connect with me on social. If you know anybody who has a beauty brand or in the wellness sector, I would love to connect with them and just kind of, jump on a call, have a virtual coffee. No string, don't feel like pressure, because I feel like sometimes people say, oh my God, jump on a call. Let's just have a virtual coffee, get to know each other, and then just to see how I can help and how can we connect, how we can collaborate. And that's it. You can find me on LinkedIn at Claire Chen. I'm also very active on Instagram. You can also find our Instagram handle is called the Digital Bosses, and you can find me here with my personal page as well. And yeah, so I think this is it. This is it.
Anything else you got going on? Floor is yours.
Well, there's a lot of goings on as well. So we are currently also trying to work on and building a digital course as well. But that is something that we will reveal in later Q3. And I would just say, if anyone who's interested to also collab and to make the world better, I would love to just have send me a DM on LinkedIn, and I usually reply within the 24 hours time frame as well. Yeah, and then just let me know what else I can do for you, because I think it's very important that we all help each other in the entrepreneur world. And yeah, so if we grow, I grow, you grow, let's grow together.
Any books coming out or something else?
No, not at the moment. That is definitely something, it's on the mission. But I think right now, just like there's so many things I need to prioritize. I'm trying to grow a team as well, and with my branding agency. So no book at the moment, but eventually when I have a book, I know who to go ask for, to get
Name
advice
us.
from.
Say
So
say wrong.
Jerry,
I saw
you
this
be
author that
someone
said
that
that. You
you'll
know.
be the one that I go ask for advice for sure. And absolutely. So I think as right now, I'm not trying. I think at the moment, just we're working on like our digital course, and then podcast is happening every bi-weekly. And if you also just want to connect and then get to know each other, you expand network, then just let's just hop on the call. So yeah. So that, I think that's it. I don't have anything that is like super big and then at the moment, but I think like later on in the next few more months, then for sure there's a lot of happening. And then yeah, so just support me. And then, but the whole point is just let's make friends. I think that's the most important. And then just let me see how I can support you in any aspect when it comes to brandings, for if you want to get some clarity and you want to get some advice. I think those are very important. Yeah, so thank you so much.
My teammate, she looking out.
Thank you so much.
Everything you pretty much said, she put it right there. Hell of a teammate right there. She looks out.
Looks great though. It's so good that when you have a strong team.
Yeah, that's what we
Thank
do
you
over here.
so much, Gina. I appreciate it.
We look out for each other. Man.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Anything else? 'Cause I ain't trying to rush you. The floor is yours.
Anything else? Well, I think I will probably share the maybe last two things then. I kind of already cover a few things,
Mm-hmm.
but I would say that the I'll share some advices then, because I know that there was one thing that you asked me about. What are some of the advices that you would give for people to find their purpose? And I think that is might be a really good one. And because I'm always also seeking out for advice, but I think one point is there are lots of false and myth about sharing your content on social media, and then especially where we all live in the world of technology and social media. And I think sometimes there's a lot of big confusions and people are not very clear about it. So I think sometimes you really need to focus on yourself, of where you're going, and
Mm-hmm.
gather out the courage and confidence, and be consistent. Being consistent is really mean more for yourself, not so much for others. And really just learn to block the noise and gather like how to work on your insight and intuitions, because I think those are the things that has really helped me, especially the last several months. I was also going through lots of transitions myself, especially at the beginning of this years. And transitions, it's always going to happen in our life. We're always going to go through all this like up and down, up and down. But at the end of the day, it's like how can you find that tunnel on the other side? And if you are being persistent and resistant and have the strength, I believe that um, you will eventually get to where you are. I'm not at where I am yet, but I think this is just something I want to share with people. Doesn't matter what journey you're on, and sometimes it just don't look at the fancy picture, the diamonds, or what people are putting on social, because we have all been there, and we all have that blind spot, but it's sometimes it's just how to really remove that blind spot and really focus on where you are, and be open-minded, go out and meet people, meet the right people, of course, and that's going to really help you. And never let yourself stop, because I think don't let excuses to excuse you for keep moving
Mm.
forward. I think that's the most important part. And the end of the day, be patient with yourself because you have the time to do everything you want, but just give yourself time, but don't rush. And be present. I think this is another part I've learned, to really be present and how to just be, because I think often in my last several years, especially now, I'm also trying to find a new identity. I'm expecting, and then in the end of August, so my there's a lot of things going on that I'm also learning to embracing my new identity as well. But I think sometimes you just have to be patient and give yourself time to do everything you want. And I always say, as long as you're breathing, everything will come to you and everything is possible. So that's my final words.
Yeah, that's all right. We like that. So I wanted to make sure I promote you. Um,
Thank you.
Next
we're
question.
getting we're getting a little too spiritual now. Just
Oh no, we're
just
all right. You
just
have
have
Bible study all the time on this show. Ain't no wrong with that at all. What has
a
been your biggest challenge on your journey?
Oh, now about the biggest challenge. Um, it's been, I mean, it's been a lot of challenge. I'm not gonna lie, it's been very bumpy, but I think I have looked into challenge into a great way of facing opportunities. Yeah, I think this is actually something I would say. The challenge is, it's you're gonna face different challenge, but it's just how your right attitude approach to it. For me,
Mhm.
it was more about trying to figure things out. And the most scary thing was like really tapping to my root and looking myself internally. Things are very deep.
Mhm.
And the challenges part was when I shipped online, I was very alone too, and I didn't have that much support. And I realized a lot of time you cannot do everything on your own. And I'm a perfectionist. I used to do everything on my own. Those are some of the challenges I have faced. And then, of course, you're always trying to chase the next bigger things. Sometimes you just have to stop. And these are what some of my challenges, looking back. And of course, be more grateful with who you are. I think this is very important.
Mhm.
I think we sometimes, as a human, we are being very hard on ourselves. You just have to learn to be nice to yourself. Yeah. And I think the challenges, it's always about how you face it and having the right attitude. I think they're just part of life. So we're always gonna have challenges, and then that's it. But the thing is, how are you gonna take those challenges as a positive way? And then that's it, because nothing everything can fix. Yeah.
Okay. And Gina says you are amazing. I love it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And when I started this, started doing it.
Sometimes, no, but sometimes it's actually good, because if we go by everything in script, then it's become not so natural. So, yeah. So
Like
those
I
are
said,
were great. So yeah, it just it happened to be randomly, and sometimes random is the best, because that's how we show the true self. Yeah. So yeah,
yeah,
it's
I learned a
totally
lot
good.
about me doing this, and I've gained a team now. But
Yeah.
I I had no idea how to start planning out. So when people say, "Man,
Yeah.
oh, you been doing your show like March 21?"
Yeah.
That's it. Like, give it a guy to get out the mud, man.
Yeah,
Figure
but
it
that's
out.
just your style, right? So I think sometimes you just gotta have a freestyle and let it go. Yeah.
Yeah, because I want you to be comfortable. Because you can't tell me your best Yoda game on how someone find a purpose if you like this.
Yeah.
Oh my God, do they know about that party last night? They gonna ask me that. No, I don't care who you was, who you was with. I'm gonna talk
Yeah.
about your journey. That's it. Then when some find out, they like, oh, I can be chill now. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
about you, how you got
Right.
to where you are. 'Cause someone might want to go in your field, and it's a little quick snapshot, pros and cons of what's going on. Now, your words, what has been your impact on your journey?
My biggest impact, I would say, I kind of already covered it in the beginning too. I think the impact is I've learned to listen to myself more,
Okay.
and really stay myself to put my feet on the ground. And also, I have better clarity about more who I am. And I think those are things that probably sometime in the past I didn't know. What I was also very afraid of looking myself. And then, so when you're really going to the deepest root, um,
Mm-hmm.
and then really trying to find out who you are as a person, how do you really want to show up every single day, and I still want to be me. Those are probably some of the biggest impacts, and on top is just to how to really be present. And I've also learned the last several years of redefining what is happiness and success.
Okay.
Those are some things I'm still learning, of course, because sometimes we can get ambitious. Ambitious is great, but when you become ambitious and ego,
Yeah.
then that's not good, right? So I think it's really about finding that balance. And I always will check in with myself, my values, and how I really want to be like later on, because I think that really go into integrity. For me, that's very important of how I treat people. So those are the things that I've learned through the last several years. Really, every time when I do something, of course, we are business owners. We all want to make money. We all want to be successful. But at the same time, it's always about finding the balance of like to really understand what does success really mean to you? What does happiness really mean to you? And how can I really be present and really enjoy where I am right now, even though I'm not at where I would like to be, right? So I think there's just also those things has been making the biggest impact. And as I say, beginning of this year, I was also having IVF treatments, and I was also going through a lot of up and down changes as well. And now, like I believe that when you have faith and believe in what you do, then the God's gonna give it to you. But you just have to believe and then
True.
keep grounding it. So that has been my biggest impact so far this year's. Yeah.
Yeah. I just of late I've started realizing you in season 10, you can do replay episodes and take a day off.
Yeah.
I'm like, how about that?
It's true.
I just started doing the last 2 months or so.
Yeah.
If a guest canceled, I do it. I'm like, gotta be a live show every week. Like, you can find some balance and you got enough content, some great stuff where y'all can watch the album again and catch it the first time.
Right.
Chill out.
Right.
But you gotta
Yeah.
find a little balance on that journey because you get burned out.
Yes, absolutely. And it's part of our mental health is part of our life. So it's just always about how to finding the equilibrium and then still showing up the best you can. It's whatever the best it means to you.
Hmm. So when
Mhm.
you make it to your destination, you ready
Yes.
to go. Compared to, "Hmm,
All
whew,
right.
I'm here. But you got all this you gotta do, like time out, man. Time out. Wait a minute. Like, you don't want to be like that. You want to be like, all right, who I got to knock out now? Let's get it. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's that you need to have. And Gina put something very thought provoking. Well, wow, it is so important hearing this from you. Very helpful to hear that you think it's essential to stop, understand ourselves, and have clarity. The idea of being present without ego is impressive. You are impressive, so needed and unexpected. I'm happy that you have a heartfelt, thoughtful disposition. Consider yourself a digital boss. I love it.
Thank you so much, Gina. Well, connect with me. I really appreciate that your support and then typing all the captions. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Now you probably answered the last one, but if people didn't hear it, that Yoda game, what advice you have for someone trying to find their purpose?
So I will just sum up. I have already shared a lot in the last 43 minutes, but I think the biggest the C's: courage, confidence, and consistency. So just really work on the inside and tap into your intuition. Ask yourself the most scarier questions, and it's okay to feel scared, but do it anyway, because sometimes you only live for once. And I have always been putting myself in a very a spot that I really just don't have the second plans. I mean, of course, as you get older, you don't want to do that because it's not like in your 20 you just go for it. You do want to have backup plans, of course, everything you do. But the whole point is just don't let it to stop you. I'm type of person,
Mhm.
I would just go for what I want, and I always have that very big courage and curiosity heart. So I think if you have that three C's, courage, curiosity, and confidence, and it's going to take you far. And I think the most important is people who align with you, they'll come to your life. If they don't, they don't, because at the end of the day, people come, people go, and that's just part of life. So you don't have to go please other people to stay in your life. So I
Most
think
definitely.
that's it. Yeah.
And Jen said courage, confidence, consistency.
Courage, confidence, consistency.
The book right there.
That is the book. Yay! That
See?
will happen in the next, later on. But for sure, yes, I think that's a really good title.
See? God
Time
idea.
cleared.
You already got a title.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Now, this been your first time being interviewed on the podcast?
No, no, I have done quite a bit. Yeah, but obviously the last several months I did stop. I was putting more on my health, and then so I wasn't doing as much of like live. I mean, in terms of the streaming, StreamYard Live and on Lincoln Live as much, but I was doing a lot like the last several years, and I will just like I say, I was inviting guests as well to my show, to my IG Live as well. So, but of course, this year I also realized because as I was saying, I'm started to also shifting my new identity. So there's just also lots of things that I was also going through, to embracing who I am, and soon will become a first time mom. So there were just also
Congratulations.
lots of things that was also lots of things that I was also going through as a transitions and then changes as well, right? So that's why I did stop a little bit, but now I think that just I feel like, oh, okay, I am much better and I'm ready to kind of show up again and then share my stories. Yeah.
You're going to do great as a mom. You're awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. One day at a time.
There you go. Now, how'd you like your experience in the middle ground?
It's been great. I like the, it's really chill, very easygoing, and it's not like, oh, let's get on the schedule. Yeah. I mean, I do look at schedule because I like to respect people's time, but I like the fact that you have been very kind and very generous, giving me the stage and then let me share who I am, my business, my journey, my experience, and you're not rushing me. And so I really appreciate that. And then you have such a great team just really supporting behind the scenes. So thank you so much, Gina. And so it's been great. So thank you so much for you, both of your valuable time.
No problem. So just make sure we live by the tagline where we treat you like family.
Yes, absolutely.
That's some great knowledge you gave out from that book come out. Everybody go get it because it's going to be a lot of knowledge in there for you.
Next, that's the next mission that I'll be working on.
I ain't give a date. I just said when it come out. I just said
Thank
we.
Yes, absolutely.
So I want to, I added this now because founder. Want to thank Beauty Global Brand Builder, visual stylist and strategist, build brand confidence through visual visibility, the Digital Bosses brand strategy consultant and founder, Claire Chen, sharing her journey, her story. Everybody watch the live. Hope it helps you get on your journey. Or if you watch the replay, hope it make you get off and start doing something.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you have an excellent weekend. I'm gonna do all the stuff and post about it. I think you got a website too on your page. I'm gonna
Yes.
post that too.
Mhm.
Your LinkedIn profile, they can get at you. All that great stuff. And it'd be some reels too. So if you're on on Instagram, if you follow me on Middle Ground with JLE, stories. Some of the great quotes you said tonight. A lot of good gems. And that'll be it. I'm about to play the outro. If you want, you can sign off.
Thank you so much
Appreciate
for
you.
your time and your audience who have turned it in and who will watch a replays. And I appreciate you taking the Friday night and just to interview me. And it's been a pleasure to get on your show and get to know your audience. And I hope that we can connect further and
Oh,
reach out.
absolutely.
And reach out. I can do anything for you. So thank you so
Oh,
much, and have
definitely.
a great weekend, everyone. And send you a big heart. Okay, talk soon.
All
Bye.
right.
313 Detroit's love, the Motor City. Detroit love, can't nothing stop me. Detroit love, I love my city. Detroit love, that 313. Detroit raised me. Detroit's in me. Can't